You know, when we talk about reptiles, we think we're talking about teeth and venom and these ancient predators that somehow survived the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. And yeah, we are. But the stories we tell, the nightmares we build around them are almost never really about the animal. They're about us. And that story, well, it starts with the oldest fear of all, the monster you never see coming.
That line, it comes from people who've encountered the saltwater crocodile, an animal that can just wait for hours. Underwater, its heartbeat slowed down to almost nothing. The terror isn't really the attack itself. It's that slow, dawning realization that you've been watched since long before you even got there. That taps into something deep and primal inside us, doesn't it?
And this is where our story of monsters usually kicks off, right at the water's edge with the crocodilians. I mean, they are the very definition of an apex predator, an archetype that's been refined over 200 million years into something so brutally efficient, evolution basically just threw its hands up and said, all right, I'm done. Can't approve on that.
And you've got two very different flavors of this apex terror. On one hand, you have the saltwater crocodile, a lone wanderer, an ocean navigator. Its whole thing is just pure physical dominance. That bite force, 3,700 psi, is the strongest ever measured. It's just insane. But then you have the Nile crocodile. This animal was so formidable that the ancient Egyptians literally built a god, Sabek, in its image. The thing is, the myth was just trying to explain a reality that was already there. These crocodiles hunt in coordinated groups. They didn't need our stories. They were already operating with a strategy.
So, okay, we have this crystal clear image in our heads of what's dangerous, right? Big teeth, powerful jaws, stay away. But what if our instincts, our very idea of what a monster even looks like, are completely and totally wrong? What if the real danger looks nothing like we've been taught to expect? So meet the gharial. I mean, look at this thing. It looks like it was designed in a nightmare. It's 4 meters long, with over 100 interlocking teeth and a snout that just seems impossibly long and thin. But that snout, that piece of precision engineering, can't actually open wide enough to harm a person. It's built for one thing and one thing only: eating fish. And the real tragedy here? The gharial is critically endangered. Not because we were afraid of it, but because we just didn't even notice it. It survived mass extinctions, but it couldn't survive our irrigation projects.
And on the complete flip side, you have this, the inland taipan. It's a shy, pretty unremarkable-looking snake from a remote part of the Australian desert. But a single bite from this thing carries enough venom to kill 100 grown men. It is the most toxic venom of any snake on the entire planet. And the number of people it's killed in all of recorded history? 0. A big, fat 0. It's like a perfect unused weapon, a biological nuclear warhead just left sitting in a shed in the outback.
So here's the crucial point. Danger isn't always about the animal's biology. Sometimes the deadliest factors are the ones we bring to the table: geography, infrastructure, and maybe most dangerous of all, our own certainty. The deadliest snake in the world, for instance, isn't a story about venom at all.
This snake, the saw-scaled viper, has killed more people than any other. But this story isn't really about the snake. It's a story about your zip code. The snake itself is just step 1 in a 3-part tragedy. The real disaster is that its huge habitat overlaps with rural communities. And then, crucially, there's a lack of medical care. The deadliness of this snake isn't a biological fact. It's a fact about who has access to medicine and who doesn't. Now this story, this one is wild. This is Carl Schmidt. Back in 1957, he was one of the most respected snake experts in the world. He got bitten by a juvenile boomslang, a snake that the scientific consensus at the time was totally confident was harmless to humans. So as an expert, he felt like he was in absolutely no danger. He just opened his diary and started taking notes. Schmidt's calm, methodical notes became a real-time record of his own body shutting down. Turns out the boomslang's venom was far from harmless. It's a hemotoxin that just completely dismantles the blood's ability to clot. He started bleeding from his eyes, his gums, from every organ inside his body. His expertise, his certainty, is what killed him. The snake wasn't being malicious, it was just being a snake. But the danger of being absolutely certain you're right, that part is an entirely human creation.
Okay, so far we've talked about species, right? About patterns that we can measure and classify. But what happens when the monster doesn't fit into a neat little category? What happens when it's just one animal with a name?
This is Bustov. He's not just a Nile crocodile. He is a specific individual who operates on the shores of Lake Tanganyika.
They estimate he's over 6 meters long, so big he's moved past typical prey. He hunts hippos, buffalo, and people. He's survived multiple attempts on his life. He's got the bullet scars to prove it. And the researchers who have tried to catch him, they all say the same thing. When you look at him, you realize he's looking right back, and he's sizing you up too. He's not a pattern, he's an individual.
And that just forces you to reconsider everything, doesn't it? We showed up so late to this party. These animals, whether it's an alligator in a Florida suburb or Gustav on the shores of that lake, they're operating on a biological logic that's been perfected over millions of years. They're ancient, they're armored, and they are completely indifferent to us in any way that isn't, nutritional.
So this is the whole point. The most dangerous snake in the world is really a healthcare failure wearing scales. The expert's big mistake wasn't the snake, it was his own certainty. The terrifying-looking animal was endangered by our indifference. The fear is real, the danger is real, but the story, the decision of who gets to be the monster and why, that part we wrote ourselves.
It really leaves you with a question, doesn't it? When you look at all the evidence, the fears we get wrong, the dangers we completely overlook, and the threats we